So I am going to review some of the boards with you that you could find on the Read and Review module. And we'll talk about the things that I want to see on the board that you put together for the Hillside Gallery project. And also just some tips and warnings, I guess. Okay, so as you put together your presentation board, please remember to refer back to day one of this class when we started putting together boards for the loft project. Okay, because that had a lot of information there that again repeats itself in this project. By now you should have your project, the Hillside Gallery project, all fairly well completed, and all of your elevation sections, floor plan, site plan, diagrams and such fairly well completed enough so that you could start to use the cartooning exercise to block some space out onto your board. Okay, we are using a 36 by 48 board, landscape format. Okay, so it will be in this landscape format, please. Okay, so let's talk about some of these things. Please try to organize your information well. We are going to, you do have basically a checklist that is also in the Read and Review that has basic ones from basically what we expect to have for you to have on there, and it does look like something like this. And if you just use it as a checklist of things that that you could include onto your presentation, that would probably be the best way to go about them. See, there's even a little box that you could check off. Okay, so we'll refer to that as we go along. Basically, the layout, flow, and alignment. Make sure that all your information starts to flow. Usually we have some of the basic information like site plan or the diagrams or something like that that generally introduces the project first. All right. Make sure that you have margins set onto your board, so you don't want all this stuff to look like it's falling off the board or stuff, unless you are using a zero bleed presentation. And remember the horror vacui? We need space between all the drawings. It should not look cramped, and we should see some white space in your presentation board. Okay, and basically you should group all of the information together. Basically, like if you have diagrams, group them together in a block of space. If you have elevations, block them together in a group of space. Section and such, block them in a space. Maybe if you have photographs or other three-dimensional information, block them into a group of space. Okay. You do need to use proper scaling on all these stuff. Usually the floor plan section are pretty much important drawings in an architectural drawing. So you should try to make those probably the biggest information on the board. Other than that, you might have some eye-catching images or something that would draw the audience to your board. Okay, and then don't make everything the same scale. You should have hierarchy in your drawings. Like, let's say the site plan might be smaller than the floor plan. The diagram set might be smaller than the floor plan itself, because these are just little abstract information that explains your project. Okay. Remember to label all of your drawing. You should have graphic scales, you should have north arrows and such on them, and they should be of a proper size. Drawing titles and such, that might be the biggest information on, or letter-wise, text-wise, that might be the biggest font. Other information such as your name and the class name and such might be there as well, but they should probably be smaller size than your title. and then you have a label of each drawings that should be of a certain size, and keep them consistent. Group of information, a group of text that should be of a certain size should be of a certain size in keeping with the hierarchy of text. Okay. When you use a font, this is more like a review, try to avoid serif fonts. Always use sans serif, which means that none of these fancy script-like stuff. You should not have, or you should not use text with tails on them if you can. We did have a list of proper text to use for architectural drawing. Remember, we don't want to overpower your graphic information with your text. Okay. We talked about north arrows, section reference plane. Please make the section reference plane, and these might be a little bit hard to see on this presentation, but you do have this board on as a PDF, so you could refer to them back there. Okay, but the section flags and section lines should be very subdued. It should not overpower your walls or stuff, so that this is more secondary information that refers to your where you're taking text. So that's more of a graphic information that you should put in there. All right. If you have stairs, which most of you will, please make sure to put the up and down arrows. So basically, go from maybe your entrance and then choose which way you're going to enter and make that into level 0. Put arrows up or down depending on which way the stairs go, and then you might even put on the level there graphic or text information like plus 2 foot or plus 4 foot or something like that. Okay. Please keep in mind line type and line weight is very important. Make sure that you do not just poche your walls as pure black. You should probably, for this class, you should basically draw out the line and poche everything, all the section cuts in a gray or light gray poche. Okay. Line types, like for this property line, you should use a dash dot dot or something like that. And for your topo lines, make sure that you use a hidden or dashed line for that. Notice that the property line is a little bit thicker than your topo lines. Topo line should probably be the thinnest compared to your property line and your building information itself. All right, and please note that the topo line goes out and beyond the property line. That is basically saying that the earth does not stop right at your property line. It goes on pretty much forever. If you go on and stop this at the property line, it will look a little bit more like a little viewport, and we don't want to do that. Okay. Hatches, please remember to hatch some information where it makes sense, even for the glass, even for the walls. Kind of choose that appropriately. Okay. And that is basically it for this example. We have others that you could also find on our read and review stuff. This one right here used a perspective. Remember, one of the requirements is that you put a perspective on your board. I think this title probably should have been a little bit more widespread out here. If not, maybe it should have lined up with something. Maybe it's spread out to this much or something using kerning and such. Please note that the diagrams are all blocked off over here. We have set of elevation and section at the bottom, floor plan on this side, and site plan there. We have some photo of the models, and notice that the perspective is of eye level. Okay, so that's good. And these section arrows here, that's fairly appropriate size for that. Okay, and there's another one right here. Oh yes, and this one did this correctly. You should put your elevation at every foot if you can. Please note that your elevation should have been at the 6-foot topo interval, right, contour interval. So you might want to label this. That means that you have to go back to your original site plan to find out what that elevation was. Okay, so this one right here, it looks like did this correctly. I think the line type is a little bit off. I think this should have been a little bit more wider of a dashed line or a hidden line so that it shows that these are not actual lines on Earth. And please note that this one has the line type scale too far wide out so that you only have these big long line and little dots there. So please correct that or make sure that you do not do the same thing. The arrangement of the board is fairly nice. The image of the project isn't that big, but then it probably does relate to this block of information about the pictures and such. And so that's that. Okay. This example here has like all of the perspective to take up probably this column. Maybe this line should have been all the way over so it lined up with this line or something, or this hillside title and such. But it has all the elements that we are looking for. Group of information like elevations, sections, site plan. If the site plan looks a little bit small, maybe it's because they didn't extend the topo lines far enough. Maybe, perhaps, don't know. But this one here, it looks like the flag of the sections were a little bit big. It does compete with your with the walls. When you do a section flag, please pull these out, way out of your the view frame of your floor plans, so that it'll have less chance of being confused with part of the drawing or part of the plan. Okay. I believe the text or title were lined up fairly well enough, so it makes that group. You have diagrams and little tiny pictures here. That seems okay too. Probably made the hatching of the glass and stuff, so this reads very well. Perhaps a little bit more line weight in some of the parts here, but you know, you have different line weights for every part of this, and it looks fairly good. Okay. Adding some entourage such as trees or bush or maybe a person would be proper in this scale. Please remember, do not put people entourage in your floor plan. All right. And so like I said, you can refer back to this cheat sheet is what we're, I'm sorry, checklist, but I think it's titled cheat sheet or something like that. Please refer to this, and then you should have a pretty good reference to go from. All right.